boy. Hello, crafty family. How are you? Today we are going to do our fourth part of the journal series where I was making this journal. We finished making the journal. The journal itself has been made. Now we're going to go on to basic embellishing of the journal. Because I got a lot of people that said, when I asked the questions, and said what was the things that were making you, have issues with making a journal or whatever, to get you started. And a lot of people said also they didn't know how to embellish it, or they didn't know how much to embellish it. And, just like I think I mentioned in the third part that, before you even start with your journal, you have to figure out what you're going to do with it. If you plan on using it just to embellish and give away, that's one thing you could do. If you plan on using it for a collage book, that's another thing. You can use it as a writing journal, but obviously you would have probably put some more blank papers in rather than scrapbook paper and stuff. So it depends on what you want to do with it as to how you're going to embellish it, or if you're giving it to somebody else. So if you're going to be giving it away, and what I usually do is, if I'm either swapping journals with somebody or I am giving them a journal and they know I'm giving them a journal, I will usually ask them what they plan on using it for. If they tell me, I don't know, I just want something that's pretty, to look at, or, whatever, I'll figure it out later. Maybe I'll do this, that, and the other. Then that means just do what you want to do and don't even worry about it at that point. If they're just undecided and they don't really care and they're just happy to get something, and they're happy to have a journal from you, or you're swapping or something and they don't, have a real specific thing to do with it, then just do something like this where you do a mix of scrapbook paper and, you could do painty papers that you make on your jelly plate. That's always nice. People like that a lot. And embellish it however you want to embellish it. Now, if they say that they're going to use it for writing, obviously you would do a little less embellishing, obviously, and have more paper that they could write on, including journal spots. You could put pockets and stuff and put things in the pockets to write on. You could put some scrapbook paper. You just maybe wouldn't put as much scrapbook paper. Like, I think I put all scrapbook paper that was white on one side and printed on the other. So maybe I would do like some regular plain copy paper or cardstock, plain cardstock, or maybe plain like light colored cardstock, like yellow or cream colored. And, basically just put things that, or do it like this, but put a lot of tuck spots where there are places to write. And you wouldn't probably do a lot of heavy embellishing. And yes, I did an embellishment on this, on this page here, because I did this video once last week. I sat and filmed this, and then the video got screwed up. It's a long story. So I was like, ugh. So I'm going to redo it, but obviously that's just one pocket. I'm going to show you how to make another one somewhere else, but we're going to do that. But anyway, so basically you just want to figure out how much embellishing you're going to put in. Now, obviously for a journal like this, a one signature journal, you're not going to be able to do a ton of embellishing without it getting so fat that, and hey, I've done really fat journals. Those two journals I'm working on right now, the yellow one and the purple one, are so fat that I can't even get anything to tie them to bind, tie it together, if that makes sense, to make a tie for it, to a closure. That's it. I can't speak. So, I can't even do that with that journal because I embellished it so much. But see, some people like, there's a lot of people actually. You'll be surprised at how many people want a journal and they don't even want to do anything with it when they get it. They just want to be able to look at it and say, oh, that's so pretty. And that's basically just a journal that, you embellish and decorate, and then they get to enjoy what you did to it. And that's pretty much what I have found, that probably 80% of the people that either want a journal or make a journal like in their journals. Do you know what I mean? They like to just embellish it and make it pretty, and then when another person gets it, they just like to look at it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a perfectly reasonable thing. They don't always have to be used for a purpose, is what I'm trying to say. You can just make it because it's fun to make and they're pretty and it's like a work of art in a little book. And then you can give it to somebody or swap it with somebody, and they get to enjoy looking at it and admiring what you did to it. So there's that. So it just depends. And, you know, that shouldn't be a stress factor for you, because you can just ask the person what they're going to do with it. And based on what they're going to do with it, well, that's how you would fill it with paper. You would either fill it, if they want it as an art journal, you would put, you know, obviously you probably wouldn't make it this small. I mean, you could, but you would put like watercolor paper in it if they want it as an art journal. If they want it as a writing journal, we already went over that. You would put more blank papers in and make tuck spots that have journaling cards and stuff like that. And if they want something for photos, you could do something like this. If they want to do like photo and writing, well, then the white backed scrapbook paper is perfect, because they can put their photos here and they can write on this side or whatever. You know what I mean? You can kind of just do it how you want. There's all kinds of ways to do journals. The way I do them is just one way. There's tons. I mean, you could go find millions of videos on how to make journals. But right now, I mean, what I really would like you to worry about is more or less just making it for yourself and using it as a practice guide. So if you made the one signature journal, you should use this as your practice book. And maybe practice embellishing when you learn a new technique. There's a lot of different techniques for embellishing. Like, trust me, there's tons. And when you learn something new, you can grab this book and try it out in this book before doing it in one, like in another one. You know what I'm saying? So I would use this for your own personal practice book. Practice different embellishments. Practice different, you know, little layouts on the pages that you want to do. And just use it for that, if nothing else. Because I think that would be a really ideal way to utilize your very first journal. And then you'll get more of an idea. You know what I mean? It'll start to kind of make sense. And then you know, as you watch other videos and stuff, that, you know, every time you have an idea, you can put it in here, or you can write it down in here, or you can whatever, you know. And then if you, at the end, you'll have something that you can reference as your own little personal guide to making journals. You know, you can, you know, do whatever you want with it, really. But I think that your first one, you know, if you really want to give it away, then just, you know, just do what you want with it, you know, as far as embellishing, and then give it to somebody. You don't have to worry about what they're going to do with it. They're going to love having it, you know. But I suggest using it as a practice journal. I think that would be a great way to utilize a small journal like this. I think that would be fantastic. I would do that if I was first starting out. That what I would do for sure would be make my first small journal and then use it to practice, because there's all kinds of techniques you can learn how to do, like different pocket techniques on pages, not just the simple ones that I do like this or like this. You could do like all kinds of fancy ones and stuff like that, so you can learn, you know, how to do those things and put them to use, you know, by practicing them in here before you make any kind of bigger kind of journal. And please don't mind my fingernails nor my painty nasty sweater, because this is like my sweater that I wear to do art in, so I don't really care what happens to it. And my fingernails are gross from mixed media mashup. I got ink and paint all in my nails, and no matter how many times I've washed my hands, probably 50 times, and yeah, it's still not coming off. It's on there forever now. I'm gonna live with it. It's fine. But yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't fret too much about embellishing. I would get the journal made. So if you haven't made the journal, let's, you know, just back up and just do that part first and take it one step at a time. Because that's the one thing I was like confused about, is that people didn't want to make the journal because then they didn't know how to embellish it. And I'm just like, wait a minute, that's a whole other step. Let's start with the first step. Get it made first. And then it'll kind of, you know, because that's where anxiety lies. Because people will go, you know, let's say, you know, to make a journal, you have to pick your pages and obviously trim them down, and then, you know, thread your string through your cover and, you know, stitch your pages in that way with the 3 holes. and then, you know, whatever. And as the steps go, and the problem is people just, especially people that have a natural aversion to be anxious about stuff, they take that all and they think, oh, that whole process has to be done all at once. Oh my. And they're thinking too far ahead, and they're not taking it they're not breaking it into the steps it needs to be broken into. Start with step 1. Step 1 is to pick your paper. Well, actually, step 1 is to pick what kind of cover you're going to use. That's step 1, right out of the gate. You know, just pick what kind of cover you're going to use. Paper cover, fabric cover, chipboard cover, a box, because I use the boxes. And we're going to do this in part 5. We are going to do a box. It doesn't have to be a Girl Scout cookie box. Go into your cabinet. An old pasta box works perfectly fine. That's what I usually use, except I have these, so I will probably use one of these. But an old pasta box, if you have crackers that has a box, you know, you don't want anything with like a super wide side on it. You want it to be, you know, anywhere in the range of like 4 to 6 inches wide. Doesn't matter how wide it is, honestly, because we're going to cut it. So it doesn't matter how wide it is. It doesn't matter how tall it is. The most important thing, as long as it's at least 4 inches wide, it doesn't matter if it's 12 inches wide. We're going to cut it, so it doesn't matter. But the most important thing is the side, because this is going to be your spine. So you don't want anything bigger, especially for your second journal, no bigger than like 2 inches, because we can't cut that down. There is a way to do it, so don't fret. I might show you a trick if need be. There is a way to if that's, you know, if the only box you have has like a 5-inch spine, there is a way to cut it down. I can show you that. But most people have a box like this, whether it's a box of elbow pasta or a box that cookies came in or something. You have something in your, I guarantee you have something somewhere in your house that something came in that you can use the box. But you don't want any more than a 2-inch spine. 1.5 would even be fine. But even if you don't have a box, that's no excuse, because I'm going to show you how to do one without even having a box. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways to make a cover, because don't forget, in part 5, we're going to start the making 2 to 3 signatures in a journal rather than just one. But I wanted to get the people that did the one, I wanted to teach them some embellishing before I jumped ahead to this, because it might be a week or so or longer before I can even start that video after doing this one. So that's why I wanted to make this like the 5th part and do some embellishing first. Because then this way, you know, you can get started embellishing or practicing or whatever. So, but by now you should have your journal complete. As far as this goes, embellishing does not a complete journal make. Embellishing is an afterthought, is something you do depending on what you are going to do with it, what you want to do with it. But at least getting it made. This is a made journal. It is made, minus that embellishment. Just pretend it's not there. It is a complete journal. It just, the embellishing is not what makes it complete. Embellishing is what makes it pretty. And it's what makes it unique, and it's what makes it have surprises behind certain pages. But it's not the journal. The journal is the journal. This is the journal. So, I'm going to have to keep taking sips because my voice is shot. So as far as embellishing goes, people don't have a hard time determining how much they should embellish and how little they should embellish and whatever. And really that depends on you. If your journal is like mine, where it already has, if it's a one signature journal, and it already has pockets here, and pretty much pockets every couple of pages or flips. And this is like going to be a little tuck spot right here. And here's another pocket. So like every couple of pages, this has some sort of pocket, pretty much. Like not too far away is there going to be, pockets. Maybe not right here, but as soon as I go over here, here's another flip with a little tuck. Here's a pocket. I mean, there's a lot of pockets in here. You can make more if you want, but there's one. And what you do with these is you just put some glue here on the inner edge and then just press it down. Here, I'll show you real quick. So you take some glue, whatever glue you want, whether it's Aleene's or I have some of that art glitter glue in here. And you can just hold it up and just put a line of glue right here, like that. And then press it down. Don't press it down against your page here because it might get glue on that page. Press it here because then, of course, if you get glue on your fingers, have a baby wipe handy. And just wipe your hands off. And then there you go. The art glitter glue is nice for stuff like that you want to dry quickly because it does dry quickly and it works well to hold very, very well as well. So you just put a bead of glue and then voila, there's your pocket. So in your pockets, you could put tags. So you can make some tags. Obviously, with a one signature journal or most any journal really, you're going to want to make your tags flat. You're not going to want to have a whole lot of dimension on them. So you want to make tags that match. You can use your scrap papers or extra papers that you have and cover your tag in like a coordinating paper of some sort and like just maybe glue an image on it and do something simple. I'm not going to show you how to make a tag because most of us know how to make a tag, and if not, you can find 1.5 million videos. But like for this small journal, I have a couple different size tags I would use. I have like that is a perfect size. And you could just, you could put some scrapbook paper on it of one of the, extra pieces that you might have because I've got them here. Like here's a piece I could cover that with glue stick and then put that on there or glue and then go in and just do a tag how you would do a tag. Just don't put anything real dimensional on it like buttons and rhinestones and stuff. I would just keep it to, you could put like a piece of the gauze, and I have gauze here which is just regular medical gauze like this that you could buy for a couple dollars at the dollar store. And I take a spray bottle and I make coffee, very, very strong instant coffee, and I put it in a spray bottle, fill it up most of the way, and leave about, a quarter of space and put alcohol in it, rubbing alcohol, so that it doesn't ever mold. So it's just basically your own kind of ink spray, but it's coffee, and you can make some really nice, if you need to coffee dye a paper, a tag, whatever, it makes it easy because you have the spray right there. And then you just hit it with your heat gun. So then I have this piece that I can use, and it's already coffee dyed. So you can use that like I did here under an embellishment. And so that would be fine on a tag. Just, I would omit the buttons. But, yeah, so you can, decorate your tag, put a picture on it, put a sentiment on it, and put it in. There you go. You could put like writing paper on the back and make it like a journal spot. And as long as it's not real dimensional, somebody could take it out and put it down and write on the one side. If you try to put dimensional stuff on it, it's going to be hard to do that. So, and then you would decorate your pockets. You could decorate your pockets with something. We'll probably do one of those. So you just want to basically decorate that. You could start off by, if you did make pockets like this on the side and on the bottom, you could start off just by decorating those initially and then move on to your pages. And as far as your pages go, in a one signature journal like this, you're not going to do anything real dimensional. Dimensional things, I don't even really like to do a real super dimensional thing in a bigger journal, but I do a little bit of dimensional stuff in a bigger journal. But mostly, especially in something like this where it's one signature, you're going to maybe, like, here's the middle of the signature. If you have, 10, 12, 15 pages over here, you might embellish 3 pages and then your pockets that you might have. So, like, I might embellish, might put a pocket in the front cover like this, and then I might embellish this pocket. I might, go to here, and I might glue the edges and put something in, like a tag or a picture or something in here. and then maybe put a picture here and kind of embellish this page by putting a picture down, because that's all you need to do. You could just put a picture down on a page and that's perfectly sufficient. You don't need to go hog wild embellishing every page like crazy. And then I might skip a page and then, oh, here's a pocket. We're going to embellish that. And then we're going to skip, you know, a few pages and, you know, maybe embellish one or two little things, adding a graphic, maybe some stamping. That's a great way to embellish, is to stamp something on every like few blank pages that you have. You could do it on every blank page that you have because if, you know, a lot of scrapbook papers are white on the other side, you can like stamp something in the corner, stamp a little sentiment on the top, stamp a little flower, just stamp something little so that this page is still usable, you know, if you wanted to write or somebody wanted to write, you know, or whatever, if you're giving it away or whatever. But, you know, just do something simple like that. That's, you know, really all you need to do. And then you can just embellish. Like I said, I would do maybe my pockets and like 2 other pages, do some embellishing, maybe 3 other pages, and do the same on this side. So for a 1 signature journal, you wouldn't embellish a tremendous amount of things. So let's do a pocket and a page while we're here. I do have some paper in case I need something. So yeah, I have leftover paper. You know what? I need to reach behind me and grab my pictures. Hold on a second. Okay, I knocked over an entire thing. As far as the cover goes, you're going to put whatever you want on the cover. Like, for instance, maybe I'll put one of these pictures on the cover. That you can be a little more dimensional with. If we have time, I'll do that. But right now, I'm going to show you one of the pockets. Like, here's a side tuck pocket. So, let's say I want to... Let's see. Let's say I want to make... put something on the pocket here to make it look pretty. It's a pretty wide pocket. And, you know, a good thing to embellish with is you can get these Tim Holtz Ideology little embellishment things, the little chipboard die cut things. And if you don't have a lot of money to spend and you don't want to spend money, then you can, if you have punches or scissors, you can either A, print stuff out of your printer, which is always the best way, in my opinion. A printer can be an amazing investment for a crafter. And you can utilize some punches that were punched out. Like I have these. I don't even know where they came from. I think they were punched out with punches. Something like that. Also lace. Now, like I said, since we don't want to use anything tremendously bulky in the journal, we would want to use a lace that was on the thinner side, or utilize the utilize this stuff here, the gauze, because it's nice and thin. But let me see if I have something thin here that would fit that. I'm not sure I do. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Okay, so, whoa, get back here. So in this case, we can take this here, lace, and put it on the edge that way, or put it this way, whichever way you want. Maybe I'll do, yeah, I like it on the edge of where the pocket is. So maybe I'll do that. We'll stick that on. I'm gonna measure it out and see where to cut it. I mean, if you don't have lace, you can always check, definitely check like Goodwill, because Goodwill generally will always have like some lace or something. And if not, you know, thrift stores, and you just kind of put a little hot glue. I like hot glue because it's pretty quick. You don't have to worry about waiting around for it to dry. And just be very, you know, put a thin amount on. And just try not to glue your pocket shut, that's all. which you're not going to do if you're careful and don't put a big glob of hot glue on. That's what you want to avoid. You don't want to put loads on. Little bit. You'll get some glue strings. You just swipe them out of the way. I don't have my glasses on. Just do a little at a time too. That's the trick with hot glue. Is not to do, let me need my glasses, is not to like take the whole thing and put a glob of glue across the whole thing, because by the time you get that lined up, first of all, you're going to have to rush. It's going to end up sloppy. Take your time and do a little at a time, like 1 or 2 inches at a time. Just go with a little bit of glue. Practice with your glue gun if you have to on getting a little bit of glue out as opposed to a big glob. Practice the, you know, what it takes to pull the handle and kind of get, you know, the right amount. You can either put it on the lace itself or on the inside here, wherever. Sometimes it's easier to do one way or another for certain people. And just do an inch or 2 at a time, but no more than that. Because if you do more than that, you're gonna end up rushing because you don't want your glue to dry, and you're gonna end up with a sloppy mess, guaranteed. Which mine is slightly sloppy, but not too bad. So there we go. So we decorated it with a little lace. And then, let's see. What do we got to decorate it with? My eye has something in it besides my eyeball. So I don't have a lot of room, but I could cut down one of these photos and make it fit there. So that's what I think I'm going to do. Because if you take a photo, you don't have to leave it this big. You can trim it down to whatever you want it to be. Hold on a second. I've literally got something in my eye. Like an eye booger or something. Okay, that's better. Alrighty. So, yep. And when I do my auctions, my next one is on the 24th of March. I usually auction off a big stack of glossy photo paper with a bunch of graphics on it. I have a lot of different ones you could choose from. You don't choose the individual images. I'm just basically giving you what I have and basically just charging for my printing services. And I do them, some of them on glossy, like this, on glossy paper. And some of them on cardstock, because sometimes it's nice to use the cardstock. And basically, you just pick whether you want a certain style. You can't really pick individual pictures, but you can pick if you want vintage or boho or fairies or something like that. I have a list of things that you can pick from. But anyway, so I'm going to trim a little bit off of this side because I want it to sit under this lace, but I don't want it to hang over the edge. So I'm going to cut a sliver off of this side, and I'm just eyeballing it. You should use your cutter. And I'm going to cut a little more off of that side. There we go. And then we're going to put it in there. I'm going to ink the edges with a little bit of ink. You can use black ink. You can use brown ink, whatever you got. I'm trying to find an ink in here. Where's my ink? Where's my ink now? Give me my ink. Somebody stole my ink. Where is it? There it is. Nope, that's not it. There it is. I found it. Took me a minute. I use a little like this mahogany brown color, which is kind of match that, but you won't see very much of it. Gonna ink the edges. Oh, you know what? I should round the corners. I think that would look nice. Where's my corner rounder? So you could do little things like rounding corners and stuff like that. It would make a big difference, you know, in your embellishment. Because sometimes having the harsh kind of straight corners, you know, won't look as nice. It'll look a little more finished with a rounded corner, but that's up to you. Some people don't like it. So I rounded the corners and I'm going to stick it in there. So all I'm going to do with that is, before I glue it down, I'm going to decide what else I'm going to do with this page. I'm not sure I have any homemade embellishments handy that are vintage. I didn't think to look before I started. I probably should have. Let me look in here real quick. We'll see. Let's see what I got. Otherwise, I'm just going to use my Tim Holtz ones. But you can make homemade embellishments. And if you don't know how to make homemade embellishments, there's, again, 1.5 million videos on how to make homemade embellishments. I'm talking tons. I have a ton. Tons and tons. Oh, get back here. I'm trying to reach something, but it keeps... I can probably use that, but not here. I might use that on a different page. Oh, I could use that little butterfly. See? I knew I'd find something. I have maple leaves, but I'm not really interested in using those. Okay, well. So, let's see. And then somebody had given me arrows and stuff. Trying to see if there's anything in here. I could probably use like that little tag in there. Doilies are another great thing. You can put down a paper doily on a page. If it's white, you can use your inks to color it. That might go in here because of that color. That's a good idea. I'll use that for a different page. And maybe I'll put this in here and something else because that's kind of a, I don't know what color it is, but it kind of goes. It's got keys on it. So, I mean, you could buy a pack of the white doilies at Walmart for like $2. Over in the, if you want to know where the paper doilies are at Walmart, they're in a weird place. Not really if you think about it, but most of us, when we're trying to find them, generally, I don't think are going to look here, but if you go down the aisle where they have like the wedding cake stuff or the wedding decoration stuff, you'll see they have like a rack and it'll have packages of the paper doilies on like a paper rack, and you'll see the big ones and then you'll also see the little ones. So look for that. It's by where like the stationery and craft stuff is, and if you keep going down a little bit, you'll come to an aisle that has like wedding stuff. It might have some other stuff in it too, but at least one side of the aisle will be like wedding stuff, and that's where you'll find it. Or cake decorating, which is also in that area. It's either wedding or cake decorating. It's like that type of stuff. That's where you'll find it. All right, so we have that, and then we have our butterfly. So I might have to pull out one of these invitations. Now I got that on the brain. I could take something from here. These are little frames. I could like, yeah, that's a good idea. I could take that. Even though it's not a round picture, I could cut off part of this oval and do it like that. Or do it like that and make it look interesting. And then glue that down and glue this to it here or something like that. Is there a better one maybe that I like? Or even a round one. I mean, you could just kind of use your imagination, do what you want with it. Maybe I'll use that on a different one since I already did the, what do you call it? Rounding of the edges. But there are these like round things, so I could like use just round punched scrapbook paper to kind of make a little, you know, here's one that's, you know, there's square, there's round. You can just like decorate with things like that. It doesn't have to be this like, actually I might use that for something else. Here's a square one. I kind of like this square one better. And then I'll ink the edges of those. You can just add, if you add little things together and kind of, it doesn't really matter a whole lot if it's like fancy from the store or something you made. If you add a bunch together in kind of a collage-y kind of way, I promise you it looks better. And then what you could do is take some stickles or glitter ink. Glitter ink? No. Well, Wink Estella is like a glitter ink kind of. Or like stickles or like any kind of glitter glue, and add some, you know, little elements to this, but you'd want to let it sit and dry for at least an hour before you went on to another page. So what I usually do is I embellish everything I'm going to embellish, and then I go back, and if I'm going to use stickles, I'll do one page at a time, let it sit for an hour, set an alarm, do something else, and then do another page and do all my glittering, and then set an alarm, let it dry, come back to it, you know. And as long as you don't put the glitter on too thick, it'll dry, you know, within an hour. So do that and that, put that there. See how it's starting to build something. We're starting to get somewhere. And then if you have like little flowers, like I have some of these flowers. And if you have a die, you could die cut flowers out and, you know, die cut some flowers out. And voila. Look how cute that looks already. Actually, I want to use one of this color. Or glittery. I didn't put any glittery ones down. I'm going to get one of the small glittery ones. Let's do that. There we go. So, I mean, there's a lot you can do. And that's really cute little, you know, layout. Then you glue it down, which I'll do. I'm going to put these scissors here to hold my pages down for me. So I'm going to start by gluing down the thing that's on the very bottom, which would be this and that there. So I'm going to get my glue, which I might have to fill this because I don't, there might be it might be running low. But I put my art glitter glue in these bottles because I know they have a fine point bottle, a fine tip that you can get for your bottle of art glitter glue. However, I find that I would always lose the pin because it has a pin that sticks in the top of it, and you take the pin out when you want to use it, and then you put the pin back when you're done. Well, if you put it down and you're using the glue and then it rolls off somewhere and you don't find it, or it rolls on the floor, you're like going to be mad at yourself for, you know, losing it, and it's going to be annoying. So I like to, and sometimes it helps if you need to, if something is placed the way you want it and you know that the picture is going to hide this part, I'm just going to put this little thing here. It's going to get hidden anyway, but at least that little mark will tell me how to put my thing when it's time to put it back, so I don't have to fuss. And you're not going to see it anyway. But yeah, so I moved my art glitter glue into those needle tip bottles, and man, I love those much better. They don't hold a lot, but it's good because it's a nice, small, easy to manage bottle. And not just that, but the tip is nice and fine tipped, and the top for it is connected, so you're not gonna lose the tip, the pin, because there is no pin. All right, so that's the first two things that go down. The next thing that goes down is our picture. So I'm going to put some, either, you know, you can use double-sided tape or glue. Most of the time I use double-sided tape for a lot of things in journals. You got to be careful if you have thin paper. If you have the thin scrapbook paper that's like thin like copy paper, which I have a lot of in here because I like using that in journals because it doesn't take up a lot of room, and that means you can have more pages in your journal. But the problem with that could be is if you only use glue to glue down any embellishments you might put in, it might warp the page on the other side. So if I were to take, let's say, this and put glue on the wet glue on the back and glue it down, it'll look fine here, but on the back, since the paper's so thin, it might have like a warpiness back here. So what you might want to do for thin pages is definitely use a double-sided tape. I sell it in my store right now. I'm out, but it's just double-sided tape. You can get it in a lot of places. This particular one's from scrapbook.com. Theirs is like $2 something per roll, unless it's on sale, which is when I'll get it if I'm out of mine that I get for my store. The kind that I have in my store, I sell it for $1 a roll, I think, like 95 cents or something like that. So I rather use mine when I get it, but I'm out right now. So sometimes I'll get it from there if I'm out. But, yeah, because that'll avoid the warping on the other side. Because trust me, it's not the prettiest thing in the world when you have warping. All right, I'm missing a flower that went rogue. Did it fall on me? Because there was this one, there was a little glittery one. Did I drop it? You guys probably saw what happened to it more than me, because I don't know what happened to it. Somebody rewind the video and then come back and tell me. Oh, I forgot. It's not a live stream. Yeah, I don't know what the heck happened to it. Because these are the two from up here. That's the butterfly. That's one. What the heck fire happened to the other one? Huh, somebody stole it. Janie isn't even here, and I bet you she stole it. I don't know. I'll get another one. I think I have another glittery of the same kind of color. Oh, that's fine. Well, no, I wanted it to be little. Oh, wait. Let me see. I have a little one over here. Yeah. Here, we'll just use that. Okay. I don't know what happened to it. It'll turn up, I'm sure. I didn't put it in my thing, did I? No. That is really weird. I don't know. Now, you can also use your gauze if you want and put some gauze down. I might do that a little bit. I might take a little piece and put it under my flowers. That'll add a little element of dimension without there being any real dimension because that stuff is so thin, it's not really going to add any bulk. Let's see. Where do I want to add it? Do I want to add it? Maybe I'll add some under the butterfly and then some under like one of these flowers. So I'm going to cut a snippet off because it doesn't have to be real big. Like that. Now, if you have a cut edge like that, that's like very sharp. Let's see. You can see it there. You're going to just take your finger and very gently, it's kind of like burlap, but thinner, and just pull a couple of strings off of it, and then it'll give you a nice fray. And let's see, I probably could put it under both of these because it doesn't take very much and you'll get the look you want with it. So just see, that just gives it a little something, and then I can take a little bit more off of here and fray it a little more. I mean, it's not going under everything, but it's just giving it a little something. Now, I find that the best thing to put burlap down with, not burlap, gauze, if you want it to, you know, go down, if you don't like, if I have a big embellishment to go over it, like if I have a piece of gauze and I have like a larger embellishment, I won't worry about the rest, like this embellishment, let's say. I'll lay it down, right? And then I'll put the glue on the back of here, and then I'll stick it down and stick the glue down, and I won't worry about this little bit that's hanging out. I let that kind of be free because it's kind of nice to have a little movement. But when you have, like I could do that in this situation because there's not much there. But, you know, and there's not a lot hanging out. But sometimes when you have things like if I was just going to put something real tiny on this piece, I wouldn't want it to be moving around so much. I'm trying to find my glue and I can't. I'm always so prepared when I make a video, aren't I? There it is. And the best glue stick to use is either the Ranger glue stick is really good, the Elmer's Extreme, or the Craft Bond, which is by Elmer's Extra Strength. So, ew, my nails are gross. So either the Elmer's Extreme or the Elmer's Craft Bond Extra Strength. They're all kind of the same, and they're nice, and they don't dry like immediately, and they give you a little bit of playtime, and it will hold down your stuff so well. And I got it outside of the thing. It'll hold down your stuff, and it doesn't have to hold it down solid. Like I said, it can be a little up over there. It's just enough to tack it down, really, because you're going to put something on top of it anyway. So it's enough to hold it down so I can get that one there and that one there, just to give a little something underneath. And this I'll take a little hot glue and put it there and smoosh it down a bit. Now, yes, there are rhinestones on these flowers, but they are such little rhinestones that it's not going to add any more dimension than anything. These are like tiny. They're okay as long as you're not putting them on every single page and making every single page super bulky, especially in a one signature journal. You want to save the embellishing for like the little pockety things, I think, are a good way to do it. And we're going to add the butterfly right here. So you're just going to do a little layering. You just want to kind of, you know, you don't want everything to be so separated. You want it to be, you know, a little overlappy here and there, just enough. And maybe I'll put a little more gauze under here, I think. You know, you want it to be a little overlappy. That's a technical term that we use in crafting, in case you didn't know, because, like, you know, I'm an expert. No, I'm not really. Pull a couple strings out. No, having some overlapping. A lot of people I see, they will, when they do things, they'll like put, you know, just for an example, they'll put like one thing there, and they'll put like one thing here, and then like put one thing here, and there's nothing to tie it together. And that's a big thing. If you could find something to link it together, it'll work in your favor. Whether that's a piece of gauze underneath the whole thing, kind of, or something else to kind of put with this. But if you just do that, that's, you know, people sometimes collage like that. And it gives a very disconnected kind of no flow. And so in order to have some flow, you want to give a little bit of connection. It doesn't have to be like in a straight line. That's just because of the shape of this. But you want some sort of connection between your things. Now, I only put the glue in the middle so I can lift up the wing and stick this kind of underneath. But actually, I need my glue stick first. You'll get a better, your eye will, you know, flow better, or whoever looks at it or whatever will flow a lot better if your eye has like a connection between your pieces, rather than just separate pieces just randomly put on the page. So keep that in mind. It's very, very easy to make pretty journal pages just by keeping a few things in mind. And one would be definitely make sure that your things kind of have a flow and something to kind of bind them all together, connect them together in some way. Not necessarily connect them together where they're all bunched together. But what I mean is have something that is like, especially if you have like 3 different little focal point type of things, or let's say 3 flowers, you know, and you want something, and they look very separated. I'll show you an example in a minute. Let me put this on and I'll kind of give you a sort of an example. I'll do the best I can, even though I'm not really here to teach you a lot about how to embellish, but just some ideas on what you can do. Okay, and that is the same color as that flower. I probably should have used a different color, but I'm a dingbat. So we've got that, and you see how it all kind of flows together. It's all got some sort of cohesion going on. Now, even to top it all off, you know, which I need another drink. Sorry, my throat can't take the chatter. I'm not used to talking that much. I mean, I talk during my live streams, but I think I talk much more in a video because I kind of have to fill dead space, whereas sometimes I can be a little more quiet in a live stream. Oh, my neck hurts today too. Okay, so I have some little sentiments here. What I do is I get the Tim Holtz sentiments that are in the little book, and like this one's called like Big Chat, and one's called Small Chat, and the other one's this, that, or the other, whatever. And they're, you know, you get 2 pages or 3 pages of white with black, and they're stickers generally. You know, here I have a book here. This one's not the same. This one's a different book, but it'll give you the idea. This one is just like words, but most of the time they come with phrases. So usually you'll get like 2 white with the black, 2 or 3. Is it 3? I think it's 3. No? Yeah, this is 2. You get 2 pages that are white with black text and 2 pages that are black with white text. And they're usually the same exact thing. Like this says A after and this is A after and. So they're the same. But you get 2 pages of each color so that you have something to do. Well, I take the white one, not the black one. It doesn't look as good when you scan the black one. Scan the white one in your computer, if you have a scanner, and take it and open up the picture in Microsoft Word and resize it, drop the contrast down, and see, because they're stickers, they have the little spaces in between. You see where you can tell the stickers are. You can peel them off. Well, those come up as like dark lines on the scan, and a lot of times, even though it's white paper, it'll come up with a grayish kind of look. I could do a video on this to show you how to do it properly, but if you don't have a scanner, everybody has Microsoft Word, and as long as you have a printer, or you have a friend that has a printer, or you have access to like a Home Depot close by, it's really cheap to make black and white prints, like really cheap, like 5 cents. You can write your own sentiments in a Word document and then take it and have it printed, or send it to one of those stores. Not Home Depot. What was I thinking? Staples, Office Max, one of those places. Even probably Walmart, I think, has a printing section. But anyway, you could print out your own sentiments. I do that all the time too. So, but for this, I'm going to take a little sentiment. Let's do this one. It says just breathe, something short and sweet, so that it doesn't take up a lot of room. Because I love sentiments. If you ever watch me decorate a journal, I put sentiments like on everything. I love little sentiments. It's just nice. It gives it a nice little touch. Something to read when you open the page. So I love putting sentiments on a page. I put them on everything. You don't have to, but I do. I don't have to, but I like to, I mean. I like it. So I'll ink the edges, and then I can take this and I can just stick it right there, or I can stick it up here somewhere. I can stick it along here. I can stick it at the very bottom. I kind of like that. I might do that, or stick it right here, I think. Yeah, I might stick it right there. Why not? You can stick it like that. You know, it's just, you can stick it wherever you want. Just stick it. But I'm going to stick it right in here. Like that. Just a little bit. And there we go. That is done. Now you can go back, like I said, with stickles, and like if you don't have glitter flowers, you can just put glitter on them. Or if you have a Winkastella, which is what this pen is, it's called a Winkastella. I think this one's empty. Do I have a full one? I don't know. Did I use both of them? Oh wow, I did, didn't I? Well, no, this one's still got something in it. These are, you can get the clear one, and it has clear, like just glitter, like a clear glitter. And that's a great way to, and you just basically paint with it. And when it dries, you'll see the glitter. I don't think you're going to be able to see it because it never, this glitter is so fine, it never shows up on camera. You could see where it's darkening the flower, but when it dries, it'll lighten back up and you'll just see the glitter. But it gives a nice little glittery shine, and you can like go over your picture, put a little glitter in her eyes, not so much there. And you can like just add little accents, and it's really pretty. It does not look as nice on camera because it doesn't show up on camera very well. But anyway, it's something you can do. I don't know. Oh, there we go. It's showing up. There we go. And I put it on her eyes, but it dripped out a little too much, so it looks like her eyes are pure glitter, but that's okay. But anyway, it's something you could do to avoid stickles and having to wait for it to dry, because it dries pretty much instantly. I can move on to the next page right now. So, okay. So that's a page with a pocket. Oh, to go in the pocket, you can very easily just take a photo that you printed out. Let's say, use another photo of another lady. And I'll show you how to make a nice little journal card. And journal cards, just because they're journal cards doesn't mean you have to journal on them. They're just called journal cards. But really, they're kind of like a tag, except one side you can write on. Which you could do that with any tag, really. But it's kind of not really a tag shape sometimes. It can be just a square or a rectangle or whatever. So I've got a picture here. And now I'm going to make sure that I use a kind of a thicker cardstock or scrapbook paper. Like these I think are all kind of flimsy. The flimsy ones don't work as well for this part, but I got that one, but that won't match. Let's see. Is there another one? No. Wait, what's this one? Oh yeah, this one's not as flimsy. Okay, yeah, totally. That works perfect. So then, this is not as thin as the like copy paper ones. So what I do is back it on a thing, and then it would go in there. However, I may have to. I'm gonna cut this picture down a bit because it's a little bit big, and by the time I back it on something, it's going to potentially be too wide. So that would be a little better. And then also another thing you can do is, let me get it. Where the heck is it? Right here. If you have any punches that are like fancy corner punches, if you don't, you can just round the corners. But like this kind of punch, you've seen me use it before. You punch your corner and it gives this decorative kind of little scalloped corner. And that's always pretty to do on your corners of your photos or your scrapbook paper or your tags or whatever. Also the corners of your pages. If you want to give a little decorative hoo-ha to your page, just go ahead and go into the corners and do a little decorative hoo-ha. You know, you could do all your pages. You could do every other page. Like I usually do every few pages and then leave the other pages like this. You could just round your edges if you don't have a decorative punch. Just use your corner rounder and round it to make it interesting. But it looks pretty like that with that little edge on it. And then I'll take this and I'm going to eyeball it so that I don't have to get my cutter out. Typically I would usually use my cutter, but because I don't want to fuss with that today, I'm going to eyeball it and hopefully make it as straight as I can. We'll see. Let's see how we do here. Not bad. So there we go. And save this because these you can use and make little flags that you can put and embellish on a page, which maybe I'll show you that next. So you would... I'm going to make sure this will fit in here because obviously I got my little tag here too, but you can put it in with it. Yeah, see, that'll fit in there. Just like that. So I'm going to round the corners on this page, but I'm going to do like a bigger round. This one has two different sides on it. It has a big rounder, and then this one rounds like less of the, like I did this photo with the little one. That's the big side. See how much difference it rounds? Much wider on this side. So then I'm going to use tape. Actually, because it's white on one, no, it's not. This is double-sided. Good. If it's not double-sided and the other side is white, or if you only have thinner cards, I keep saying cardstock, but it's scrapbook paper. If all you have to back your photo with is something really, really thin, either A, fold it over and make it and glue it with a glue stick so that it's thicker, or B, take two pieces and put them, you know, fronts and backs together. This was double-sided, but you know what I mean. Glue another decorative piece on the other side so that you have a sturdier and piece, plus you'll have pattern on the other side. And then we'll take our tape. How did that cut weird? That didn't cut right. What in the hell? Let me see something. That did not cut right at all. Well, I'll be. I don't know what the hell happened there. Huh. Maybe I can get it to fix it if I like take some of that off. I don't know. I don't think that's gonna fix, period. Oh well. I screwed up somehow. I didn't put it in right. I probably wasn't paying attention, but that's okay. It's not that big. It's not that big of a tragedy. I'll just fake it. I'll just fake it. There we go. Good enough. Ain't gonna notice it that much. Anywho, whatsoever. Put a little tape on the edges. It's not a, you know, it's not a fast process to embellish a journal. If you've been following me at all over the past month and a half, I've been doing the purple and the yellow journal, and you see how much, but I'm also embellishing it a lot as well. So it's not like I'm just embellishing a couple of pages and being done with it. I'm embellishing like every third page. But again, that is a thicker journal, so it's, you know, it can be done that way. And because I couldn't put tape on the corners because of the little holes or whatever, I'm just going to put a little glue on the corners. But it takes time. It's something that you do, you relax and you watch, you put a video on that you like, put one of my streams on and just sit there and work in your journal and embellish pages, until you're happy with it. But like I said, I wouldn't go overboard, especially your first time. I would just embellish a little bit and, get a feel for it, or use your, I might cut this down a little bit now that I screwed that up. Oh yeah, that's nice and crooked. I'm doing a real good job. Really smart. I'm now trying to fix what I screwed up. Okay then. Okay, a bunch of hacking later. Be more careful than I am. I'm the queen of putting everything crooked, but that's okay, because this type of corner can be re-rounded, whereas those fancy corners you can't. Once you do it, you're kind of screwed. There we go. And so that's a little tuck spot piece. You can even put a little tab on it, and as long as it doesn't get, stuck, you can make a little tab. That matches. That isn't. Here we go. This is a flimsy paper, so I'm going to want to make my tab. I'm going to want to glue it together like this first, and then put it on so that it's a little bit stronger. that, and then fold it over and make the tabby. Like that. And there we go. So pretty much your best friends are going to be some liquid glue, glue stick, and some double-sided tape when you're decorating your journal. And again, I saved these because I can use those. There we go. And I can even round the edges of that potentially with the small end if I can. I don't know if I can get it in there. I should have done it beforehand. I could do it by hand. How's that? Which I suck at doing, but you know. But I'll give it a try. Good enough. I'm going to even that up a little bit because it's just, as usual, uneven. There we go. There. There we go. And you can choose to put a sentiment on the back or one on the front or both or whatever you want. It's up to you. And just decorate it. Whatever, you know, whatever makes you happy. No reason to stress and worry about it being, you know, don't stress yourself out thinking that everything's got to be so perfect and oh, it's got to look a certain way. You know, that stuff that you can't worry about that when you're first starting out. You just can't. You know, just like if you worked at, you know, a certain job that you were just starting at, obviously you're not going to be doing the CEO's job. You know what I'm saying? So you need to start somewhere and you need to allow yourself the time to get acclimated. You don't have to be good overnight. You don't have to, you know, compare yourself to people that have been doing it a long time. That's never a good idea in crafting anyway. And I really hate to hear people say, you know, oh, I can't do it as good as so-and-so, and I see other people, they do it so, you know, and those other people have been doing it a long time. It drives me nuts when people say things like that, because it's like, how can you even think to compare? Would you walk into, you know, would you go into the first day of college and be like, oh, the seniors do it so much better? I mean, no, because, you know, you have to understand that, maybe I'm going to put this on the back. You have to understand that you have to start somewhere. You can't, you know, it's sometimes, and some people pick it up faster than others, and that's just the way it is. And if just because you don't pick it, maybe you and two other people started at the same time, and maybe one of the people that you know that started, maybe they picked it up really fast and they're, you know, good at it right out of the gate. It happens. But you can't compare yourself to that person because it's not you. You know, you got to do it at your own pace and not worry about it. And just enjoy doing it because it's fun to do. So there's a pocket and a little tuck. Very simple stuff, you know. Nothing major going on here at all. So let's move over here and let's put a tuck spot. I'll show you how to do a simple tuck spot. Let's do that here. So a tuck spot is different than a pocket, because a pocket, you put something kind of in it, and it's kind of, you know, you could put a few things in there and it's kind of secure. Whereas a tuck spot, it's just something where something can stick, if that makes sense. You can just kind of stick something in it. And a good way to make a tuck spot is to just use a round punch and punch out a shape. You can use a scalloped punch. Here, we can even use this. We'll use this one. An oval shape works great. Even a rectangle or a square. Any kind of shape. I use a lot of like punched shapes for tuck spots. You can use a square. I don't know if I like this page. I want to make sure one of these match so that I can show you when it shows up. Let's see, like, do I have any blue pages or? There we go. We'll do it on this page. You could do it at the top of the page. I usually do like ovally shaped ones or rectangle shaped ones at the top for some reason. You don't have to. You can totally do it right here. It's just my brain does that. Or if I'm going to do a round one or like a square one like that, I'll do it towards the corner. And then I'll glue down 2 of the corners and like a little bit in. I won't just do 2 of the corners. I'll kind of do like almost half of it. I'll do like some of the corners and then just kind of dip down and put a little, you know, thicker amount of glue because it's a tuck, not a pocket. So, maybe I should do that one there and put this one somewhere else. Nah, we'll do this one. So a tuck spot, like I said, isn't a pocket. So you're not going to treat it like a pocket. I'm going to ink the edges. This one I'm going to ink with black, I think. Let's see. Any old black will do. Put a little black ink because that background is black, so. Black ink. Make sure those ink is not going to. Some of these inks don't dry very easily, so sometimes I take my finger and kind of run it along so that it doesn't leave marks on the page. See how it's coming off on there? I dry my fingers on my pants and then go back in just to make sure that the ink is dry. You can use a rag too, because sometimes it can smudge if it's a really wet ink. Okay, and then you take your glue. You don't want to use hot glue. You want to use either a wet glue is usually best. And you're going to basically, like, I'm going to cut it in thirds. So I'm going to take the glue and I'm going to just put it at like the top third, sometimes half, almost half of the oval, which mine's crooked. But anyway, something like that, where you have glue towards the top. And then you're going to put that glued part at the top of your page or near the top of your page or at the bottom. But if you did that way, you'd put the glue towards the bottom. And press it down. And when it's dry, you can't really do it now. I mean, I could kind of do an example of it. But, well, actually, I'll give it a second to dry. And while it does, I'll put something on here because now we've got this nice blank space there. You can decorate it, you know. You can put something on it. So maybe I have something small enough in here. You can use this stuff as a tuck spot because these are perfect. They're the perfect size. You just put the glue almost to the middle and put it up there, and voila, I could have done that too. You could use anything as a tuck spot. It doesn't even have to be like square, round, rectangle. You could use one of these butterflies as a tuck space. I've done that too. Put the butterfly up the top, put the glue from here up, and then you have the tuck underneath, or do it here and tuck there. Any way you want to do it. You could do it with other things than just square or round or whatever. See, like I could put a butterfly on this one. It's a little big. Let me see. I don't really think there's anything smaller in there, unfortunately. Oh, wait. You know what I have? I have something here. I think. Yeah. This might have something. It's like a little embellishment. Oh, see, look. I have butterflies. Let's see what else there is in here. Like these are little punch out embellishments that I got in a Happy Mail. This one says love. That could go on there, but no. Maybe I'll just do, I don't know if I want a blue butterfly. One with any blue in it. Maybe this one. I could do one of these. And maybe this one here. Maybe. Let's see. What else? Not really. That's small enough to reach there. Okay. So if I do that and take, I could take some gauze and put it underneath. Where's that piece I had left over? Did I do something with it? I don't know. I'll just grab another piece. We'll do some gauze underneath of that too. Gauze is one of my favorite things to use because it's just so easy. It's easy and it works with everything vintage. And even if you're not doing vintage, you can color the gauze with some, you know, ink spray. And, you know, instead of making a vintage gauze, you can make it pink or blue or yellow or whatever color you want. It'll still work. It doesn't have to be colored with a vintage look to it. Now, this one, I'm going to kind of pinch that center because I want my paper to be able to slide under here fairly easily, so I don't want it hanging off too much. I'm going to use my glue stick. And yeah, so you can pinch the center of it and kind of fold it over and it'll work fine. And just put it on there. And a little bit hangs off, that's fine. Obviously I don't want to glue it to the outside because I need it to be able to, you know, have a little lift to it. Alright, then take my butterfly. My buttfly, I could put two on top of each other, but maybe I'll just put two next to each other like that. And let's see where I want to put these here and here. And then take a little sentiment because I swear I use more of these than anything else. Take a small sentiment. Does that cut right? Cut it a little better. Whoops, get back here. Who do you think you are? Well, I'll start to glue that down. And now when you glue it through the thing, you're going to put just a little extra glue on so that it goes through the gauze and glues down, you know, fairly well, and just hold it for a second. Especially if you use the glitter glue, you don't even have to hold it that long. I should have inked the edges, but whatever. That's okay. I'm kind of layering the butterflies. I don't need them to be very dimensional here. And then I'm going to just stick that up there, and I don't know. Let me ink this and then figure out if I want to put a flower there or something. But again, it's just, you know, a little collaging. Collaging on your tuck spot, very easy. Or you can leave it fairly plain and then just put a sentiment on it, you know, just put a bigger sentiment so it fills in a little bit more of the space, because I have ones on here that are fairly long and you can cut the words apart and just put it that way. So you can either do a small sentiment and put something else with it, or a longer sentiment by itself. So I think I'll put the sentiment on an angle like that. My hands are gluey. And then I might take a tiny flower and put it down here. Like that. Yep, that sounds good to me. A sparkly flower. Just to kind of give it a little something. A little sparkly. Okay, now that's dry enough where I could probably put my thing in, because this, like I said, glue dries quickly. So again, you can cut something out. In this case, I'll cut out one of these little thingies here that I have. And after you cut it out and ink the edges or whatever, you could just, then it'll slide underneath of there, and that's where it stays. That's what a tuck spot is. I had to get it under there. Why is it not going? There we go. Don't want to pull it up too much, but there we go. So then you just tuck it in, and that's a tuck spot, because it'll pretty much stay right in place to be tucked, and that's what the purpose is. Well, that's it. Very simple. Actually, I'm going to round the edges. And if you want to get fancy, you could put another piece of paper on the back. Scrapbook paper of some sort, or, you know, something. And yep. And there you go. There's that page. So, I mean, you got this page here, and now we have this page. It has a little something on it. It's very easy to, you know, do this. And then we've got this page, which we started with. When we started the book, we left this page long and folded it in, you know, to equal the edge of the pages, so that we would have this. And then because it was a little long and it was not going to work, we tucked this in and made it a tiny tuck spot. So now it's like a side tuck spot. So again, now you could choose to cover this whole page with another thin scrapbook paper to give it a full color. So like you can, and people, you might have seen me do this, but like, let's just say you could cut it and then cover this page with that to give it a little more pizzazz, or not. You don't have to. I'm going to put my glue on the two edges and then fold it over and clean off any excess glue that sticks out. And then you can decorate it. And, you know, you can decorate it very simply. You could just stamp something here. You can put something in there, or stamp something here. Or just take a photo and glue it in. You know, you don't have to get crazy and make every single page to be some amazing magical page where you spend a lot of time on it. You know, you can also just be simple. You know, there's nothing wrong with being simple. You know what I mean? It still gives some visual interest to the journal, to the page, without taking 9 years to do it. You know, not that anything that we did really takes 9 years. I mean, I have been on here almost an hour and a half, but I've showed you a few things. But all you can do is you can just cut your corners nice, instead of worrying about backing it on something or whatever. Just cut your corners nice, and we're gonna stick it down, and that's it. And then on the inside here, we can just do what we did before and take another picture or something else and back it on a paper so that you can slide it in and out. Or you could just put a photo in there, especially if you're giving it to somebody. They might like some of these vintage photos. You could take 2 or 3 photos and stick it in the tuck spot, you know. This way they can use those photos, utilize them in their crafts. You know, it'll be like a little gift that you gave them. Or like some sort of embellishment or something, you know, like one of those Tim Holtz things that are in here. You could stick a couple of those in there. You know, it can be whatever you want it to be. Sometimes I do photos and sometimes I do little things that I make. It just depends on what kind of mood I'm in, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it can be easy peasy embellishing. Like I said, if you don't want to do anything at all bulky, just stamp. Just stamp like every 3 or 4 pages. Stamp a corner, stamp the top, a sentiment or something. Just stamp it. Just use your stamps. Use black ink or brown ink, something neutral, or you can use colored ink if it's a colorful journal. But if it's vintage, using black or brown ink is you know, fine. See, all I'm going to do on this page is stick Henrietta here. Oh, her name is Paulette, it says. Actually has her name down there. I wasn't expecting that. All right, Paulette is in her spot. And then, like I said, you can just simply take another photo and pop it in there, and they can have that photo, you know, and that page is done. So very simple. That's tuck spots and pockets for you. Very simple. What else was I going to show you? I don't remember. Was there anything else? Here's like one that pulls out. It's another tuck that goes in. You could decorate this side. Oh yeah, one more thing I wanted to show you. Lace on the edges. So you've seen me do it a bunch. You don't want to, if it's a really small journal like this, you don't want to use a super wide journal. This journal, lace. No more than probably about a little over an inch, maybe 1.25 inches to stick out the sides. This is probably even a little too long, but I don't really have, I probably do, but let me see. This one's a little shorter, I think. Is it? No, maybe not. No, it's about the same size. Let me see if I have a smaller lace right in this drawer here. Hold on. Keep them here. Sometimes smaller ones. Oh, I found one. Let's see. I found one. Well, one is good enough to show you. I found this one here. Oh, well, it's got some sort of glue on it. What the hell? I don't want that. Okay, that's not what I want. Don't want that. Never mind. That was bizarre. Here, I can, whoa, I almost fell over in my chair. I can just use this to stick out the edge. Getting hot now. Gotta take off my coat or my sweater. I could just use this one. Even though I used it on a pocket, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a specifically different lace. So you just pick a page. It doesn't matter. Let's do this page, for instance. And because this journal is so small, that's why I say you don't want to use like a really, really, really thick lace or fat lace. And you just go along the edge of a page, and you could do like, you know, if you look at it when it's closed from the outside, and you look at the page, the pages of the journal from the outside, you can see easily where you should put like some lace. It'll be easier. Like, in other words, have it closed, and if you have lace here like that, you can see like, okay, maybe I'll put another piece around here, maybe I'll put one here, 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 depending on how many pieces you want to put. You know what I mean? Like, you can decide to put, you know, a lot of lace, a little bit of lace. That's kind of up to you. You can even use a ribbon if you have a ribbon that's kind of got a scalloped edge or something on it. Even if it doesn't, it'll just stick over. It'll look fine. Again, just do a little bit at a time. Take the side of my nail, and if any sticks out, I just take my nail to it, and then it'll just kind of ball up and come off. Like right here, I just did a little too much. Just take my nail and scrape it off. Okay. Scrapey. A little bit of glue I got sticking out. And sometimes you'll stick a page together, but you can usually get it off pretty easily. So there, see what I mean? How cute that looks? To have a little lace off the edge. So that's another thing that you could do that's really easy and doesn't take a lot of time and effort. And, you know, embellishing the journal is not hard at all. You just take it page by page. The problem is, like, again, people look at the whole of the thing, like they see somebody's journal that's been really embellished and they just like look at the whole of it and they don't realize that it's done in parts. You do it a little at a time. That's how you have to approach crafting, and especially something you've never done before. You do it in little bits, break it up. So I usually embellish any of the inside embellishments that I'm going to do, and then I do the cover. So I usually do the cover last. But I mean, if you just break it up into bits, embellish the whole, you know, do your little embellishing, then go back and add your little lace, then go back and like, you know, do whatever, I don't know, but then go back and fill your pockets if you want to do the embellishing first, and then go back and decide what to put in the pockets. You don't have to put anything in initially. But break it up. However you got to do it, break it up into steps so that you're not getting overwhelmed. Just do one thing at a time. Take it one page at a time. Take it one part at a time. You know, do all of something, whether it's, okay, I'm going to concentrate on the pockets first. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to put the pockets, you know, glue the edges of the little pockets. And then I'm going to, you know, just work on the pockets and then go to the next pocket, glue it together and then decorate it and then go to the next pocket and then worry about from there. Like, just break it up however you want to break it up. You know, put all your tuck spots in at once. So you're doing all, you know, do a few tuck spots here and there and do that all at once. Just kind of break it up however you need to. That picture's upside down, but it don't matter. To make it, you know, and don't worry about how long it takes you. Definitely don't enter your first journal into a swap. Don't even do any swaps. You shouldn't do any swaps until you are comfortable doing a journal and you can do it in a decent amount of time. That might take you 6 months or a year. Or if you're going to swap with somebody, do it privately. Don't do it in a group where they have rules where it has to be done in a certain amount of time. You can find somebody to swap with very easily. Just if you're a beginner and you've only made, I suggest you definitely at least make 2 or 3 journals first before you swap with anyone. And if you're going to swap, just go in whatever art group. You can go into my group and say, I'm looking for somebody who's also a beginner at making journals. And I'd like to swap with somebody who just started making journals, because I know, you know, just say, I've just started making journals and I'd like to swap with somebody else. You definitely do not want to go into a swap as a beginner with anyone and not let them know you're a beginner. Okay. Especially if you're looking for somebody to swap and, you know, it's not a swap that's put on by the group and you're just going in saying, hey, I'd like somebody to swap with. Don't go in and then get a partner who's really experienced, who's expecting an experienced journal back. It's not fair to the other person who's putting a lot of work in, who knows how to make a journal really well and who has done it a lot. It's not fair to them to swap with a beginner. Unless you tell them that, you know, I would just mention that ahead of time. Say I'm a beginner and I'm looking for another beginner. Don't swap with somebody who's got a ton of experience for several reasons. One, because they're going to get your journal and realize, because obviously I'm not saying you're going to do a bad job. That's not my point. But if you're swapping with an experienced journal maker, they are definitely going to be above your expertise. And it wouldn't be a good idea to give them a journal that is not up to their level. I mean, you wouldn't want to do that either. You know, you wouldn't want to give $100 to somebody, just, you know, you don't want to trade dollar bills with somebody and have them give you a $5 bill and you gave them 100. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. It's not fair to the other person. And also, it's not going to be fair to yourself, because you are going to see that other person's journal and get very frustrated, especially if you end up with their journal before you sent yours to them. You're going to end up getting down on yourself, and you're not going to want to send the journal. You're going to get nervous. So even if they don't send you theirs first, if you happen to see online pictures of their journals that they've made in the past, you're going to all of a sudden start comparing yourself. It's just not a good idea. It's just not a good idea. Just don't do it. If you're going to swap with somebody, just say, you know, either do it if it's run by a group or something like that on Facebook or whatever, one of the art groups, definitely find a swap where they have a beginner's, you know, journal making swap, so that, you know, because journals, I mean, you know, you definitely want to ease into it. But I definitely would make yourself at least one signature journal and a couple of multiple signature journals before you know, and get, especially for speed wise, because, you know, it takes me a long time. So that's why I don't enter swaps for journals most of the time. It's not big journals. Like, I might do a little journal like this, but I don't do like real big journal swaps because it just takes so long. And I know that, and I'm aware of that, and I like making my journals, but I also understand that it's going to take me a long time, so I might want to, you know, not stay out of any kind of time constraints on a swap or something and just swap personally with somebody. But yeah, so I would just not swap for a while. Let yourself, you know, allow yourself to learn, because there are some people that are just used to being good at everything, and, you know, they want to be good at something so bad and they just want to jump ahead. And that can cause your problems there, because it really can cause problems, because it could make you start to, you know, compare your work to other people and get yourself up in a tizzy. But if you allow yourself to go at your own pace and learn and not worry about what anybody else is doing, just do your own thing and learn slowly, practice, make some journals, whether you just keep them or gift them to somebody eventually down the line. You know, I kept the very first journal I ever made, and it's not very good. And, you know, you have to learn somewhere. It took me a long time before I would ever, like, say, yeah, I want to swap with somebody or I want to give it away. I did quite a few journals before I ever, you know, probably 10 journals before I would even enter a swap. And that was just a small journal swap. But, you know, practice makes perfect. That's the name of the game. And as far as your cover, you can do your gauze and put a picture. You can do whatever you want. No different than, you know, any kind of embellishing that, you know, we did in here. As far as this pocket, I forgot to tell you how to add a pocket if you wanted to add a simple pocket. I'm sure you could figure this out, but, you know, just in case, all you need to do is take a piece of paper, whatever kind of scrapbook paper you want to add as your pocket. Like, maybe I'll do a blue one back here. And just measure it up to, or turn it over. And, you know, it doesn't matter how high the pocket is. You can make it a little higher. You can make it a little lower. You know, it doesn't matter. Just eyeball to what height you want the pocket. And I measure, like, right here, I could see the black paper with the back cover here. And I'll put a mark where I see it. And then I'll put another mark here. And then I'm going to eyeball it, but use your cutter because then you have your mark right there. I'm just going to eyeball it because I'm being adventurous right now. It's crooked, but I can fix it. There we go. And then, again, we're going to cut it at the other spot. And you don't want it to go so far in. You want to leave like an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch right there so that your pocket doesn't get caught and start causing problems when you're closing your journal. Like I actually might take a bit more off of this just because I'd rather have a little space over there than have it buckle up under my thing there. Let's see. Okay, and now you can choose to, again, use your punch and decorative punch, or just what do you call it? A rounded corner, just on the top corners. Just on the top 2 corners like that. Take your glue or your tape, whichever, and go along the side of 2 sides and a bottom. Put a little glue. Doesn't have to be perfect and neat and crazy. Just enough. It's just going to hold like a little tag or something. It's not like a massive pocket that you're going to put loads of things in, you know. It's just a little tag pocket. You can put one at the back, one in the front. I already put one in the front. Before, that was that video that I started to shoot and it got screwed up. So there you go, pocket done. Now you decorate it just like you do every other pocket, or you can leave it plain. You don't have to do nothing. You can just put a little sentiment on it and leave it just the way it is. And then you have a pocket to put whatever in. A tag, you know, pictures, whatever. And that's it. It's very simple. Just a rectangle. You can either round the corners or do something, or just leave it square. Just leave it, you know, right angled at the edges. That's it. Very easy. And you can decorate it like that, which is what I did. Not with that. You know, something like that. Yeah, it's very easy to decorate a journal. It's not hard if you break it down into, you know, and it's already starting to get a little fat because even though we only did a few pages. So with a 1 signature journal, because it's only got 1 signature depending on this whole spine right here, which is just folded. It's not the same as having a flat spine. You could do a 1 signature journal and have a flat spine. You would just take a bone folder and a ruler, and instead of folding it directly in half, you would fold it, you know, put an inch in the middle that's, you know, a 1/2 inch on this side, folded a 1/2 inch on this side, and leave this flat and not have folded that, if that makes sense. Which I'll show you something like that when we do the next video. So you can give yourself a little more room for embellishing a 1 signature journal that way. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you just want to do something simple, you know, just do a few pages. You don't need to do it a lot. Like I said, do your little tucks that you put in the paper from the beginning, and then maybe add a few tuck spots or photos here and there, and that's it. You don't have to do anything else. And you could just be random about where you put things. You could just go, okay, that looks good, or, oh, okay, I'll just throw it here. That's fine. I'll do this page, you know. Or, oh, okay, I'll do this page. You don't have to be calculated. You don't have to skip a certain amount of pages. It doesn't have to be even. Just do whatever. You know, let it be random. Just be like, I'm going to open up to right here. Okay, I'm going to decorate this page. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to, you know, just do the corners of this page and or whatever, you know, just be random about it. It doesn't have to be a certain amount, but I would just do minimal on a journal like this. I would just do like I said, in the middle of the signature, do your pockets and then do like 2 or 3, just like 2 tuck spots and maybe a picture on a page, and then do this side so that it doesn't get a little, you know, too overwhelming. And as far as a closure goes, if you take a piece of seam binding, or like in this case, I have like this I could use, which looks like a piece of vintage, it's actually sari ribbon. So I'll use that. And I just tack it down here. I would tack it down right here. I make very simple closures. Just tack it down. Like that. and then figure out how much you want to use that'll tie it. So since it's not a very big journal, I'll just put it here. And you could do like all kinds of things. I could take this whole thing and just wrap it around here. It doesn't have to be like this. There's many ways, but I do a lot of simple ones like this because it's simple, it's easy. I don't have to fuss. And then I'm going to measure up another piece and give it a little extra for gluing it down like so. And then just go to the back side and do the same. And I'm putting it up a little higher than the center because of my pocket. I'm just going to unveil this because it's kind of crinkled up together. Unveil it a little bit. Just eyeball it to where it's going to go. And stick my thing down there. My little fabric or what have you. As I crinkle it all up here. And then, hold on a second, I crinkled all my fabric up. Oh, that's because it has a string hanging from it that's causing knotting. Then what you could do is if you have buttons, which I have some, but I don't think any are big enough. If you have like a big, nice big flat button, like a nice flat button, you could put it over top for like a little extra, you know, hot glue it down for a little extra, like, what do you call it? Extra security. Or you can use like a round piece of cut paper that matches your book. You know, anything. Because then once you do, guess what? Now you have a closure for your book. And your lace, it won't hurt your lace to do that, to have it in the thing. But look how cute. Isn't that cute? Very simple, very easy, no fuss. But there are so many closures you can do. That's another thing. Practice. You can look online and see what kind of closure. I would just keep it, you know, I would keep it on the simple side for your first couple of journals. And don't focus on that because it's not necessary to focus on that. So I hope this was a helpful video. And if you have any other further questions, leave a comment below with the questions so that the next video, hopefully I can do my best to answer your questions. But hopefully at least I got you started. And there's really no reason at this point for you to have an excuse not to do it. There just isn't. Because even if you don't have fancy scrapbook paper, you can make painty papers with copy paper, with some spray inks, and some paint, and, you know, whatever. You can make your papers to go inside of it. You can make your own. I did that for years. I still do that. I love painty papers. And, you know, there's lots of ways to do it. So I hope this was easy to understand and helpful. And let me know if it was below in the comments. Also, don't forget that we do mixed media mashup on Wednesday nights around like 8:30ish, between 8:30 and 9 sometimes. It usually goes for a couple of hours, and it's a free, fun kind of beginner mixed media class, which is fun. I also have a Facebook group, which is linked below in the description. So if you look below the video and you'll see like a description that starts. If you hit show more, it'll open it all up and you'll see links to my Facebook group. My email is in there now, finally, because it wasn't in there for a while for some reason. My email's in there in case you need it. Also, I have a link to my Patreon, to my Zibbit store, which I just put brand new stuff in there today. I have like 9 or 10 new stencils in there, about 4 or 5 or 6 new dies. I have peacock feathers in there, which are great to use for embellishing different things, even journals. Trying to think, is that about it? I think so. I don't know. But yeah, check out my store because I have very discounted items. Yeah. And then my Patreon, which is a way that you can get classes. I do classes every month. And you can get classes for, you know, much cheaper than you could with a lot of other people that charge $40, $60, $80 a class. Our classes start at $10. And or you can get them every single month for $25 a month, or you can just pay $1 a month, literally just $1 a month, and get all my secret private live streams that we do. So yeah, just check out my Patreon. There's some interesting things in there you might be interested in. So I will talk to you guys later. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Have fun making journals. I want to see pictures of them, so either email them to me or put them in our group, which is the Pink Poodle Pack Creative Crafty Playground on Facebook. Link is below again. And yeah, love to see them and see the progress you're making. It would be pretty awesome. And yeah, again, questions down below, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day, and yeah, make sure you do what you love and love what you do, and be nice to people, and I'll see you later. Bye.